blockbuster disasters, headline-grabbing scandals, and one very nervous studio executive. Hollywood has had its fair share of near misses. You're watching Hollywood Hacked, where we dig up the stories behind movies that almost didn't survive to see the big screen. From wild rewrites and casting chaos to productions derailed at the 11th hour, here's your 2024 update on films that cheated fate, and sometimes reason itself. Thunder crackles behind the famous Hollywood sign, but it's not just weather that shakes this industry. Sometimes, it's the storm of controversy that almost wipes a movie from existence. Tonight, we peel back the velvet curtain and reveal the tales of cinematic masterpieces that danced dangerously close to oblivion. Imagine a billion-dollar film halted by a computer heist. In 1998, the final act of Pixar's beloved Toy Story 2 was erased with a single mistaken command. A digital disaster so total, entire months of work disappeared in seconds. The backup files? Corrupted. The rescue came from a technical director who'd secretly stored a copy at home for maternity leave work. Without her, Woody and Buzz would have vanished forever. Few know that Apocalypse Now teetered on destruction. The Philippine coast saw typhoons sweeping away million-dollar sets, Martin Sheen collapsing from a heart attack, and Marlon Brando arriving weeks late, grossly overweight and unprepared. Studio heads begged to cut losses, but Francis Ford Coppola mortgaged his own house to keep cameras rolling. Insanity prevailed over reason, and out came an immortal classic. Under the glow of neon lights in 2023, one project's fate hung by a tweet. Warner Bros. Batgirl was completed, post-production underway, then axed, not for controversy or cost overruns, but as a $90 million tax write-off. Its directors learned their film was canceled during a wedding party in Morocco. Not even cast or crew have seen its finished cut. The closest modern Hollywood has come to erasing its own legend. At the height of COVID-19 lockdowns, the Mission Impossible 7 set became ground zero for Hollywood's pandemic panic. One positive test triggered shutdowns costing millions. Tom Cruise's infamous tirade about safety protocols echoed through media headlines. But it worked. Against all odds and mounting studio impatience, filming staggered forward with patched-up insurance. Blood dripped through early drafts of Jaws, not on screen but on studio balance sheets, because Universal execs were desperate to pull the plug on Steven Spielberg's over-budget shark thriller. Weather sank mechanical sharks daily. The script was rewritten on set. Spielberg himself feared being fired daily. With each missed deadline and ballooning cost, only Spielberg's persuasive late-night phone calls kept the film swimming toward cinematic history. Sometimes scandal is more powerful than artistry. Disney's Song of the South remains infamous and largely unseen, but few recall who framed Roger Rabbit nearly met the same fate 3 decades later. Legal chaos over character rights. How could Bugs Bunny share screen time with Mickey Mouse? Almost doomed production, until Disney's secret midnight negotiations finally untangled rival studios' Gordian knot. There are stories even darker than lost footage, like 2014's The Interview. A comedy about North Korea sparked international outrage and unprecedented threats. Cyber attacks rocked Sony Pictures. Theatrical releases were canceled en masse, under real fear of violence, and the film was dumped onto streaming at the 11th hour, a move that changed distribution models overnight. Consider what almost happened with Mad Max: Fury Road. Years in development hell saw Mel Gibson swapped for Tom Hardy. Exiled director George Miller nearly shut down by war in Namibia and corporate buyouts at Warner Bros. Every element screamed abandon ship. Yet Miller persisted through sandstorms and mutiny to deliver one of the most visceral blockbusters ever forged. Jurassic Park could have been fossilized before launch when Hurricane Iniki devastated Kauai just weeks before principal photography wrapped. Sets were flattened overnight. Actors and crew bunkered down in hotel ballrooms with winds hurling debris into concrete walls. Spielberg rewrote scenes on location as palm trees bent like twigs outside. The terror that made it on screen mirrored by real-life chaos behind it. In 2020, chaos erupted anew with Don't Worry Darling when off-screen drama boiled over, actors replaced at the last minute, production delays stretching for months as a pandemic raged outside studio gates. Leaked audio revealed creative clashes threatening to upend Olivia Wilde's carefully constructed vision. But defiant resolve outlasted viral uncertainty and tabloid noise. Across decades, studios have feuded with directors over vision versus risk, but perhaps none clashed harder than Ridley Scott and his financiers during Blade Runner's birth. Studio bosses demanded test screenings with happy endings. Scott stood firm for existential darkness. At one point, mere days from release, the entire theatrical cut was threatened with recall if Scott refused final edits. Sometimes fate intervenes not with disaster but indifference. 1994's The Shawshank Redemption flopped at box offices so catastrophically that execs considered shelving Prince mid-run to cut costs, a move that would have made its later cult rebirth impossible. In 2022, tales surfaced from deep within Lucasfilm. Rogue Squadron was shelved indefinitely after creative. Differences between director Patty Jenkins and Lucasfilm brass reached an impasse too wide for any X-wing to cross. Scripts were discarded, concept art abandoned, fans left to wonder what Star Wars adventure they'd almost received. What if the world's greatest wizard never cast a spell? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone nearly lost its American release when translators wanted to recast British schoolchildren as Americans in an English boarding school setting. An idea J.K. Rowling threatened legal action to stop cold. If you loved these Hollywood hacks, hit like and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes secrets.